three guys who combined to play 15 seasons in the National Football League trenches. Well, two guys. And Mackey, who didn't do shit. He just sits there and looks pretty.
This is the O-Line Committee.
Show in all of the United States of America where an idiot like me gets to ask questions to two former NFL players. We do film breakdowns and we do dumb football questions, and we'll take your suggestions too for what you want us to do during the season. Kind of a blank canvas for us here. We just launched this like 3 months ago. We're almost to 4,000 subscribers, but yeah, we would take some ideas from people. What do you guys want to see in the regular season? What do you want to hear us talk about?
Ooh.
Hit us up, YouTube comments.
We're going to break down some fire content in the regular season. Real football. I'm so tired of watching last year's
So
tape.
am I. Cannot wait.
I'm just rewatching the same tape over and over. I'm going to be like a kid on Christmas morning after that first Sunday. I'm just going to be down here in my little dungeon, iPad in hand, just scrolling and going through tape. I can't wait. I can't freaking wait.
And your little sleeveless white tank tops that you guys are
it's
showing
pink,
off the guns today.
First of all, It's salmon, so I don't need to hear this nonsense about my white tank top. It's a salmon tank top.
Okay. This is like is the dress blue or is the dress white thing up? By the way, did you see
Oh,
that?
did you see that?
He tried to kill his wife.
He attempted
Tried
to
to
murder
for
her.
years. He's been like beating her up and like they've been trying to fight her and stuff. And he like put her in a chokehold and like
She
dragged
probably
her.
thought she probably thought the dress was blue and black. I mean, it's definitely gold and white.
It's white.
Honey, God.
Beating.
Sorry,
Jesus.
too far, too much.
Too far.
Here's the line. Here's Jeremiah.
much.
Just
I'm sorry.
over here. Yeah.
Don't worry, he's gonna get his ass beat next. His is coming, so I'm not too worried. I see what happens when you
If
go.
anything happens, my wife's gonna try and murder me. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure this time.
She's gonna
Jay's
grab one of those
laughing 'cause he
helmets
knows.
behind you and go Miles Garrett on you. And,
no
it's gonna
doubt.
be over.
She'd crush
By the way, if you guys could click the subscribe button and the like button on the YouTube channel, help us grow this thing. And if you listen on Apple or Spotify, a 5-star rating and a positive review also helps grow this thing.
I hear the kids coming inside. It's gonna get crazy.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Maybe this is the chance for us to start the how many 8-year-olds can you beat in tug of war on YouTube.
Hey, I got a
make
whole
it happen.
neighborhood over here. We should make it happen today.
No, you'll hurt yourself. You'll
gonna
hurt yourself. You got one
watch
more
some
week of training.
kids.
You got one more week of training. Maybe
That's
do
right.
it next week.
I forgot. I didn't tell
You got one
everybody.
more week.
One more week, and then we can go crazy. Everyone's like, "Let's go play." I'm like, I can't get hurt.
It's actually 2 YouTube videos. It's the Rocky training montage, Alex trying to get ready for the competition, and then it's Alex versus 23 8-year-olds playing
They'll
tug
just
of war.
murder him. They'd murder him. But anyways, that was last podcast.
All right. Mark Larson wants to know here. And by the way, hit us up. We try to take as
All
many
the
of these
questions.
as we can here.
Let's
Dumb
go.
football questions. No question is too dumb. Mark
No, sir.
Larson wants to know. So fans like to claim that refs favor certain teams and players.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
for sure.
the Packers, whatever. And that some games are rigged by the NFL. Do players ever sit around the locker room and bitch about the officials?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
are you kidding
yeah.
me?
I mean,
All
Okay.
the time.
post game usually is the
Oh
worst.
yeah, terrible. Dude, I'm trying to think. We played a game in Candlestick one time. I thought I was gonna get fined so much money. we had a touchdown that got called back that was really a touchdown, and it was reviewed by New York and still not called a touchdown. We ended up losing that game. They come back on Monday and they're like, hey, because they always everything that they look at that they don't like, they send to New York and they go, you need to give us 100% clarification and definition onto this. And so you get everything back by Wednesday as to what everything was. And they were like, hey, by the way, that touchdown they called not a touchdown was really a touchdown. And I remember after the game, they asked me in the media and they were like, what do you think? And I was like, I really don't care how much I get fined. I am so sick of this shit. I can't stand it. I can't stand, you know what I love? And Jay will tell you, there are officials out there that are awesome. They understand the code of conduct that's going to happen out there. There are no rules. There's no biting. Okay, there's no eye gouging. After that, there's got to be a lot of things that get let go, right? Because they're grown men that are just beating the crap out of each other. I'm talking about when the ball's gone and all that nonsense starts to happen. There's some guys that are like, okay, I'll let it go. And there's some guys that are like, I am not letting anything fly today. And you're like, dude, how about the guys that check you to see if you're in the backfield on third down? That's when you know you got a crappy crew. They throw a flag. You didn't get a warning. You're looking at them like, hey, I didn't get a warning, Tony. What the hell? Carente's like, what do you want me to do about it? Give me a warning. You're supposed to give me a warning. Is this how it's going to be today, Mr. Boone?
I will say,
you, Tony, I can't take this today. It's on now, old man. I am coming for you. And then the rest of the day, I'm stuck John with him, them, the coaches. It's a great day. John Hussey in Philly.
yeah, I will say this. Every week in the scouting report, you also get a referee scouting report.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so every week you say, okay, this is the crew we have. They are this, like, the second or third most penalizing crew. They throw this amount of holdings, this amount of defense. They throw in this many personal fouls, right? So you actually do really kind of need to study who your crew is to understand what are they constantly looking for. Now, I will say this. Some white hats are more lenient than others.
Yes.
For example, we're playing in Philadelphia 2016, right? We're out there doing our thing. We get a first down. We're heading into the red zone. All of a sudden, I see that there's a yellow flag on the ground. And I turn around, and it's looking right at Boone. And he goes, oh, holding. He goes, holding number 76. And Boone goes, me? You called that on me? That wasn't a hold. And then he's like, was it Carenti? Was it Carenti?
No, it's Hussey. It's John Hussey.
Hussey
love you, John. I love you.
He goes, easy 76. Yeah, that's a holding on you. He goes, oh, you're such a. Then he goes, walk away. And I grab him, and I'm like, come on, Alex, walk away. And he walks away, and then he goes, all right. And then he turns around and goes, no, you're a effing pussy, and just screams at him. And Carenti takes his white hat off because he's already thrown his yellow flag. Takes his white hat off and just throws it straight up in the air, 15 yards, and he's just, oh my gosh.
I feel like that never happens. Like if in a baseball game, if you glance at the umpire wrong, boom, like ejected, right?
Oh,
in the NBA technical, you see coaches on the sidelines just screaming into a megaphone at coaches, and
But
they
here,
never throw flags for that stuff.
I'm going to go up on my soapbox here. I am going to say that baseball is really bad at that, right? You should be able to go out there and jaw at a ref a little bit because there's always the lines in the box that you know that no one's ever going to step out of, right? Like, you know no one's ever going to push a ref. So you know that you can jaw as much as you want and he can jaw back. But eventually the refs will tell you over a minute or two, they'll be like, hey, I got to go. Game moves on, right? So eventually they just walk away. So they're literally walking away from the coach as he's yelling, and he's like, well, the game's got to go. The timeout needs to happen in 5 minutes and 35 seconds. We got to get this going. Like, this is, it's like,
But there's no clock in baseball, so it's like you could just sit there for a half hour and yell at each other.
Hey, but you should at least be able to go out there and yell a little bit. Like, I think that's wrong. I think it's kind of messed up. But at the same time,
the top refs, top-notch refs, hockey refs. Dude,
Oh.
hockey refs are getting like punched in the teeth.
Amazing.
Like they're in there trying to break up fights, and they're just like trying to pry, and they're just getting bodied all over. And people are yelling, dude, hockey refs, they don't care about nothing. They're just there to let it happen. I think every type of ref should embody the hockey ref.
I will say, though, there are a lot of cool NFL refs, and I didn't know this, and maybe Jay did, but, like, did you ever laugh when they pulled up the referees and they took their pictures in their suits and they had their hats on? They had their, like, sweat jackets on, and it was like they took, like, roster pictures like we did. And so, like, they would post them up on their teams, and you'd feel like, it's like their own little team of old men that just ruin your day. It's terrible.
One of my second games ever being active for the Chargers, I'm at the pregame warm-up, and, like, I'm kind of jittery, and all of a sudden the white hat comes over to me. He's like, hey, 75, come here. I'm like, and I walk over, and he's like, hey, man, I'm Clete Blakeman. How are you? I was like, I'm good. He's like, hey, I live in Omaha. I'm a Husker fan. They just want to introduce myself. And I was like, oh, okay. And, like, I'm, like, panicky, right? And, like, I see my O-line coach is, like, looking at me like, what is this idiot doing talking to the white hat? Right? And I'm, like, supposed to be in warm-ups, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, man, just wanted to introduce myself. I live in Omaha. Da-da. And I walk back over. My O-line coach goes, what was that? I was like, he's a Husker fan. He's like, are you kidding me? Like, it was my fault. Like, he's like, what are you doing? You got to get ready for the game. I was like, what do you want me to tell him? No? Like, no, Mr. Official, I'm good. I'm going to stay over here. Don't come any closer.
Right.
Like, but yeah, Clete's a great guy. After that, like, I told Clete that story. Next time I saw him, he started laughing. He's like, oh, I didn't mean to get you in trouble. But, like, Clete's great. Like, there's
Hockley's great.
Hockley's great. Like, there's some really good ones.
There.
You just have to understand sometimes, like, the newer white hats are going to be a lot more aggressive with the
You know
flag.
who was great? Jerome. He was the man.
He'd seen everything.
He would let everything go. I'm trying to think of who. There was another Walt Anderson.
Yeah.
He was
is he still rocking it?
I don't think so.
know.
But
He might
He's got to be in his 70s, man.
There was times where he was tough on you, and then there was times where he was cool. So you just never knew with him. But like with Ed Sr., he was always cool. Like, he was going to let everything fly. If you wanted to fight, you could do your thing. Like, he didn't give a shit,
Did you guys respect Ed Hockley a little bit more because of how much time you put in the gym?
I think it was the other way around, Boone. Ed Hockley loved to call everything because he loved just having them muscles on TV.
No, he was always cool.
Like, dude, Ed was like, "Oh, was he offsides? Was he offsides? Throw it anyways. I want to talk, right?"
I'm telling you, you have the wrong impression of Ed. No. I'm telling you,
that's Ed Hockley right there. He'd be like, "Offsides." Over there. All he wanted to do was show off his muscles, dude. That's all. Ed called the most penalties out of any crew ever.
I'm telling you, I would go back right now and bet a lot of money on the fact that you could look at all the calls that he gave our O-line and there were nothing. He let us slide on so much shit that I was like, we're going to get fined for this, and Ed, you're going to get fined for letting this happen. Like, you're going to get in trouble. He was like, dude, come on. What are you going to do? Yeah, let's go. Come on, let's go. Like, but I'm trying to think of who. There was a couple other good ones. But I never thought that anybody was ever in on anything.
And
like,
the NFL is never rigged.
No, it's not. And I never thought, like, at times you'd be like, hey, that's a questionable call. But when you pull yourself out of the moment or you go back and you watch film and you'd be like, you know what? I was holding the shit out of him. You're right.
I think in the moment it's really easy to think like
it's hard.
Refs or homers or whatever it may be. But like most of the time when you go back and check the tape, you can at least see why they called something. Right? And you have to understand like it's an imperfect system too, right?
Correct.
Like they can't see everything. But like if you can go back on tape, like obviously there's some that they just completely miss and you're like, woo. But most of the time you see it and you're like, I can see why they did that. Like I can see why they called that.
I think like just on a like macro league level, the thing that fans get the most mad about is, this quarterback, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes gets preferential treatment. If you graze the guys, but the league isn't the most popular league in the world unless those guys are playing every week, right?
And that's our rebuttal.
All due respect to Chad Henne, but like,
correct. People forget that. Like, if you were to lose the top 5 quarterbacks in this league, it would not be very desirable to watch. And if anything, it would be a bunch of teams that were just clawing every week at each other. Like, there's the stalwarts that you're like, dude. And I kind of almost think that, like, over a period of time, like, once Tom Brady hit 15 years, it was like, yeah, I get it. Dude's been doing it 15 years. Can't rock his world. So what? Big deal. I get it. Like, there's just some things that you're like, yeah, I totally understand. Aaron Rodgers, same thing. If you destroy him, they're going to throw a flag. Totally understand that. There's a lot of respect towards that dude. Whether you like him or you don't like him, he's a great football player, and the league always has to protect itself. And the way that this league is going, they want to see the ball in the air as far as possible, and they want to see it as many times as possible. And they don't want to see it just hit the ground. They want to see people catch it and run. So it's like, there's only a certain amount of guys you can have back here that can do that and don't flip out and freak out and get sacked. Like, you want those guys to get hurt? I don't. And at times, I get mad too, where I'm like, be tougher. But then I'm like, wait, he's year 18. Never mind. No, you're good. O-line, where the hell were you?
Yeah,
like, you're supposed to be fighting.
There is a scale for those older quarterbacks.
Oh, of course.
They definitely get a little bit more love. And that's just the way
cool
it
with
is. You
that.
just have to understand it.
Mitch Trubisky, ingrained in the ground. Okay,
you're
probably
gonna
not
get
be a
rocked.
flag.
Yeah.
but,
Rookies, you're getting hit for
Nate
sure.
Sudfeld, you're getting
no.
killed. Nate Sudfeld, sorry, bud. There's no
Sorry,
preferential
guy.
treatment there.
Watson, you're getting killed just because. Sorry. I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with that.
Yeah. CJ the 577 chimes in here on the O-Line Committee YouTube channel. What does an NFL player pay for their job that the NFL or the team doesn't provide? So, like, the team provides a certain level of nutrition, strength, whatever. You got coaches and stuff. What do you guys pay for outside of the structure of the team?
So I'm going to give you a very real answer. If you wanted to go this route, the only thing you would technically have to pay for is, like, your house and a car. Because if you were like, hey, I'm going to live at the facility every day, which you could do. You could be like, I'm just going to go train here. There's coaches there every day to train you. There's food there every day to feed you. There's everything there. It's your decision. A lot of guys like to go different places in the offseason. Like, eventually guys are like, I need to get out of here. Like, I need to physically be out of these 4 walls, right? And so, like, people leave and they go home. Like, that's cool. Then you're on your own. You're paying for everything. And the only thing that really they'll pay for is when you're there working, or if you decide to show up on an off day. Like, the food will always be there. The workout staff will always be there. Nutritionists are always coming in every day. Trainers are in every day. Like, everything is paid for all day. It's when guys are like, all right, I'm going to go here and train. Then you're like, okay, now you have to pay for your own training, which also comes at a risk. Because if you get hurt outside of those 4 walls, you go on NFI.
non-football injury.
It's where you live to die.
So let's say you're an
Sports
idiot
purgatory.
and you
But
strain
you're
your
not
back
an
doing
idiot.
dumbbell deadlifts. If I did that under the supervision of a Vikings or a Packers trainer,
IR. You go
IR,
IR.
baby.
IR,
IR.
which means they have to pay you.
Right,
If you're on
because
NFI,
you were under their care.
Right.
Your strength coaches.
If you go on NFI, so say you go on like a camping trip and you stub your toe and you break your foot, and then you have to come back to training camp, and you come back, you're like, my foot's broken because I was off doing whatever. They're gonna be like, okay, cool, we're gonna put you on NFI, which means we still own your rights. You can't shop around to a different team. We don't have to pay you anything until you get healthy. Until then, you just kind of live here and get healthy, right? So it's sports hell. It's the worst place. You never want to find yourself as a player, right? So that they're trying to entice guys to stay, but no one does. You know, like when you leave in the off season, you're going to get out of that off season what you put into it financially. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you go off and you're like, hey, I'm just going to go try and spend as minimal possible on training this year, as minimal possible on taking care of my body, my nutrition, whatever, you're not going to make the team the next year. You know, I learned that as a young age. Like, you need to come, when I got back to Nebraska, I was like, okay, first thing I need to find a chiropractor. I need to find a massage therapist. I need to find an acupuncture therapist. I need to get my nutrition dialed in. I need to find a place to train. I need to find a gym, like all that stuff. And I mean, if you spend $25,000 to $30,000 on your body, on your training a year, that's worth it to go make $750. You know, like, and that's the thing that young guys really have to start thinking about is like, you have to understand, like, this is now your business. Your body is now what you're going to pour into, right? Everyone loves using a race car analogy, right? Like, you're going to put shit tires and bad fuel and a stocks, like what's those things on the back, fender or whatever they're called, the spoiler. You're gonna put a stock spoiler on there, like you're gonna trick your car out so that you can be fast and good. Like, you got to put money into it. And so I mean, I would spend, that doesn't include the injections you go get, whether you get some stem cells, whether you get some Toradol injections, like whatever it may be. I mean, I think every offseason I probably spent between 30 to 50 grand just on my body. Right, just on my body to make sure that I could show up to training camp the next year and be physically able to compete for a job, right? And I mean, you hear Russell Wilson says he spends millions of dollars on his body, and I believe it. I thoroughly believe it. There's guys that have that big of money. They will spend as much money as humanly possible.
Did you hear what he said like a year ago about like bowel movements?
No.
That he said he's dialed his nutrition in so aggressively that he only craps like twice a week. That there is no
unhealthy.
waste because he's only eating foods that get like, woven into your cells.
Weird. I'm like a 4-day
twice
guy.
Twice in the morning.
So maybe I have a lot of trash because I'm a 4-day guy.
That's a lot. Huh. No,
what about like personal chefs? You guys ever do?
I had a wife.
What's wrong with
She
my
cooked
grill?
for me.
I'll cook my own
cooks
food.
for me. Yeah,
No,
my wife likes to cook though. I will say that she enjoys cooking, so
Yeah.
she
So
would
do
always
I.
cook for us.
Yeah, I had no problems cooking. But like, dude, that's the choice. Like, and this is the thing too. You go to work and you're like, everyone probably goes to their job and they're probably like, I can't imagine there being a cafeteria here. But like, when you went to work, there was a really nice cafeteria, and it was like, what do you want to eat today, sir? Let me get the 3-pound tomahawk. Got it. How do you want to cook? I want it purple in the middle still. Not a problem. What do you want with it? Baked potato. Load it. Like. And it was like, hey, can I get one for my wife? And Jay wants to eat too. Or they'd be like, yeah, no problem. So we were just literally bringing home food every day, all day. Just,
Oh yeah.
they take good care of you for a reason. They know they're killing you slowly, and they're like, I don't want them to realize it until they retire. And they do a phenomenal job of it because, like, literally everybody be like, hey, you bringing home food to your wife? Like, oh, yeah, of course. I think I'm going to go home and make food. I can barely walk, dude. Yeah, let's go. Cook this shit up. Let's get home. I am tired. But you don't have to do a lot, really, and especially, too, when you leave. I think one of the hardest things is trying to figure out a place to go and why you're there and what you're there, and finding somebody with the same, like, similar beliefs as you. Like, it's hard to go out and be like, go to a gym and be like, hey, do you have any NFL linemen in here in the back somewhere training that I could link up with?
You can like hang out with. Yeah.
I see a lot of women in here. Nope. Okay, I'll go to the next gym up the road. Like, it's hard to find a place to go to get what you need, especially because, like Jay said, if you're really just training, like lifting weights, it's not enough, especially nowadays. You have to be doing skill work all the time, trying to hone in these little tiny senses that everybody else is working on. We've all seen how Aaron Donald trains in the offseason. Every single person in the NFL should be matching his intensity every day with those workouts. Like, I'm not kidding you. That's where I start to kind of separate from everybody else, where I'm like, no, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my body, but I was with a guy who was like, this is important to us. And I agreed with him. And it was like every day we're going to pull ourselves into this little room and we're going to learn something new, or we're going to learn something cool, or we're going to watch film for hours and hours and hours. And all of a sudden you start to learn, like, this isn't just a hobby for me. This is my life. This is what I want to do. And the minute you're in the rooms, you're kind of taking it more serious than everybody else. And they're all messing around. You're like, no, I need to learn this shit. Hold on, 2x2 and 3x1. Why can I not see this? And you're starting to see things differently because you start to realize the investment that I put in is so much more than everybody else here. And that's why I always got so much more mad at everybody else, because I was constantly just working all offseason to make that 6 months amazing. And the minute you see people slack and not take it serious, you're like, where were you? What the hell is running through your mind right now? This is the show, dude. You are in the ultimate show. There's no more higher place to go. And you're just totally dicking around right now. Like, guys would just leave January 1, come back April 20th and be like, all right, first day back. Here we go. I'm ready to start it now. And you're like, wait, what?
Decades before that, guys would show up back in the 70s and 80s,
Different.
right? You like show up in training camp.
I mean, like
different.
Bruce Matthews was telling a story down at Masterminds where he's like, everyone was talking about like training camp and how important it is to take care of your body and get rest. And he's like, man, back when I played, we used to go sit on the top of the parking garage, drink a case of beer, sit up all night, and then we go practice the next morning, do it all over again. Training camp was awesome.
Yeah,
it's just a different time. It's different age, right?
game.
Like,
we're getting paid a lot more money than those guys got paid too. You got to think about those dudes in the 60s and 70s. A lot of those guys had other jobs. And that's why they pay you the money that they pay you, is because they expect you to show up like, dude, we're paying you more than a doctor makes in a year. You should show up more surgical than him. And when you don't, they get really, really mad. And I can't express to you how mad they get, because I know there is no HR in the NFL. So things get said that you're like, I think technically everybody in here could sue you. Like, I'm almost positive I could sue you, and that'd be insanity. And they're like, shut up, Boone. Got it. I'm done. You're right. He should have trained. My bad.
Well, okay. Question 3. Just I'm gonna check the original play to something else here for question 3. If this was like 1970s NFL and you guys had to have a second job in the offseason, what would you do for your second job?
Oh,
Kowalski's deli
or
for
construction. Oh yeah,
landscaping or construction.
For sure. Outside. Anything that involves being outside in the sun in a tank top and just grinding through some mulch. Yes.
How about lifeguard? You could do all those things and be a lifeguard too.
No.
Wouldn't have to.
I honestly don't know. I really don't. I love being a business owner. Like, I love owning my own business, owning my own agency. Like, so I'd like to think that I'd have some type of business that I ran, like have some employees, but I don't know what the business necessarily would be, because it'd have to be something sports related. So maybe I'd run my own agency on the side. Who knows? You got your player, you represent yourself, right? You rep yourself and just do your thing, collect your own 3%, and call it a day.
I mean, think about like Alan Page was one of the greatest defensive players of all time. And he then went into a 5-decade career as in the legal
Supreme
system,
Court
right?
Justice, which is amazing. Amazing.
I'm sure he loves doing that.
Have you ever watched the show on him on the After the Life?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's amazing. All the things that he went through. And I was like, dude, that is one. And you think about those guys back in the day, and that's the one thing that I don't think gets talked about enough. And I think that that's the one thing that at the NFLPA I really enjoyed the most, was they always remind you in the first day of meetings, the first meeting is like, hey, let's go back and talk about what we've gained through the years and what everybody has gotten us. And then we go through it and we talk about the creed and what those guys believe. And they're like, don't forget, these guys had to wash their own gear. They had to buy their own stuff. They had to go to work after practice. They had things to do. And here you guys are bitching about stupid shit. Not forget, these guys were hard asses. Dude, Gene Upshaw, I heard that dude was no bullshit. They were like, bro, when Gene walked in the room, shit got real. I was like, really? They were like, dude, it got real, because he was one of the guys that was out there on the front lines no, we're not going to play. We're not going to do this. Why? Because you can't treat us like this. You can't take $100 billion away from us and then give us nothing. And that, dude, it really makes you appreciate all the old guys. And a lot, too, is some of those guys ended up becoming coaches, and so you start to talk to them about it. Hey, what was Gene Upshaw like? Man, that guy was the dude, man. That guy was a dude. You're like, really? Yeah, man. You don't mess around with that guy. And then they start telling you stories about what it was like back in the day. And you're like, no way that could happen now. They're like, dude, absolutely not. They could not do that stuff to you guys. And you're like, I really appreciate the fact that you guys ate a lot of shit for us. And these guys still sit around and complain about stupid things like my pinky hurts, my toe hurts, my foot hurts. All these things, and you're like, dude, back in the day, they didn't even know what the word concussion meant. You serious? They didn't even have face masks. And we're over here like...
It wasn't even in the Webster Dictionary yet.
Right?
Concussion didn't exist.
They have no idea, and you're over here complaining about something so silly like there's no ice in the water. Shut up, kicker. God.
But you guys, I mean, you guys have a healthy perspective. What percentage of overall players would you say have a respect for, 2 generations, 3 generations ago, some of the bricks that were laid?
It's 40%.
Yeah, I don't think it's very much because there's a fine line of like having respect for, hey, thanks for what you did before us, and a fine line of those guys being like, back in my day, we did this, and you guys like, you know what I mean? Like, there's very much a line there of like, hey, we respect what you did, but like, we don't need you coming up here and like, in my day, we'd walk around with our ankle brace on all night long because we wanted to practice the next day. It's like, no, you didn't. Like,
no, you didn't.
Like, like there's certain things like that.
These guys are pampered.
There's certain things like that. It's like, okay, yeah, like we don't need to hear about it like over and over again of how much tougher you guys were than us. Yes, you were tougher than us because the circumstances changed, but the game has changed, right? So I think there's a fine line there of respect and also just like it tones out sometimes because it gets very repetitive of, well, there's nothing we can do to change what you had to go through. So thank you for that, but let's not keep belaboring the point here as we move on.
Yeah.
Right.
It is one of my least favorite sports arguments is when people try to make the case that like this player back and baseball's the worst. Where it's like, Babe Ruth. It's like, dude, Babe Ruth never faced a Dominican pitcher, never faced a black pitcher. Like Babe Ruth wasn't facing the best players in the world. And he ate 14 hot dogs for pregame. Would just like show up.
That would not have worked now. Maybe at halftime, if you're up a lot, you could go for about 2 or 3 hot dogs. Dude, by the way, you can't tell me that wasn't the best at halftime.
The preseason half dog.
Where's the food?
Where's the hot dogs, boys?
Pull a tray of hot dogs wrapped in like foil. You're like, give me 3. I'm so hot. It's so hot out here. Why is August so hot? Dude, we used to go to San Diego every year in 40. It's so hot out here. God damn it. Give me some hot dogs. Dude, I remember one time we scored on the first play. We threw a smoke to the right. We thought, no way it's going anywhere. So I started to walk back to the huddle. Dude took off for 80 yards the other way. Coach was like, you're done. I literally was like, yo, where are the hot dogs? Somebody get me. Yeah, first play of the game.
No.
They were like, all right,
you got to at least wait till halftime to get the first.
They were like, once you're done. I was like, hot dogs. This way, right now.
Well, that was like when I was inactive in Minnesota in 2015. At halftime, I'd always sneak into the players' lounge because they'd have like chicken fingers, hot dogs, corn dogs, and you were inactive, right? So like I was like, I'm not going to eat these PB&Js. I'm going to get some real food. You just walk in there, you come back into the locker room, you're just shoving chicken fingers in your face before you walk out.
Dude, wasn't
No.
That was at TCF. That was at TCF Bank.
You would walk out. You'd walk out from halftime. You'd see all the guys dressed in like street gear, and their mouths would be so full, and
Just
they wouldn't be
stuffed full
talking.
of food.
I'd be like, hey, real quick. Coach say we're gonna call that Ricky Iran. He'd be like, Jesus Christ, dude, how much food you got in there?
So much, just chipmunk style, dude. Just full, like on your way out, like I could shove one more in.
Dude,
I had to Google, on the hot dog thing. I had to Google this because I thought, wasn't there like a quarterback?
Mark
Sanchez, 2009, and he's just scarfing a hot dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was against the Raiders in Oakland, and it was October. So
that was a real stadium.
It was a real
Dude, that
game.
was a crappy stadium too. God, their locker room was so bad. Almost worse than San Diego's. Jeremiah, I don't even know how you guys did that.
Dude, it was
We had to
bad.
go 3 guys to a locker.
Yeah,
I was like,
it was
this
bad.
is horrible. And then you walk out underneath the bleachers. I'm like, are we sure this is safe?
Oh,
I
thought Qualcomm was gonna just collapse every
on
time
itself.
we played in it.
It was terrible. Oh, dude, I remember I had to get an injection in my chest in the pregame because I took a shot to the chest when I wasn't looking from one of our safeties. He thought I was looking and he went to go hit me. And I got hit and it like blew up my sternum and I had to get a shot. And they were like, just lay down on the floor. I'm like, I laid down and I was looking up at the rafters and they were like shaking. And I was like, guys, this is it. This is how we die. This is how we're going to die. I got a needle in my chest and a fucking thing's going to fall on top of me. Nate Bresky, the guy who was in Buffalo, was like,
I love Nate.
Nate goes, just calm down, Boone. He goes, it's hard to be calm when you're looking at the stands shaking above you. He was like, close your eyes. Just close your eyes. It's okay.
It's all a bad dream.
Did you stick me yet? You'll know when you get stuck. Oh, God.
It's going to be okay.
We went off the rails here a little bit, boys.
We did. I think that's the point of the show.
Talking about hot dogs.
Straight. What was the question?
I don't even remember.
Can you repeat the question?
Just click the like button and the subscribe button if you could. If you like hot dogs, click the like button and the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts.
Literally, as you were telling that story, I was like, wait, what was the question we were supposed to answer?
Dude, Joey Chestnut this morning.
Joey Chestnut.
He has a YouTube channel. The best food eating YouTube channel is Matt Stoney. Okay. Matt Stoney is the only guy besides Kobayashi or Joey Chestnut to win that hot dog eating contest in the last 20 years. He has a great food eating YouTube channel. So I stumbled upon Joey Chestnut's YouTube channel this morning, and I watched a video where he eats 32 Big Macs in 30 minutes. No. 32 Big Macs in 30 minutes. And at the end, he's kind of sweating a little bit. He's like, pretty good. That last one was still pretty good. He's eating the rest of the lettuce that fell out.
I had a neighbor challenge me to a chicken nugget eating contest a couple years back. He told me that he could eat more McDonald's chicken nuggets than me. And I was like, you're out of your effing mind, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to buy them, but if someone buys them, I'll do it. And so my other neighbor's like, I'll do it. So we bought 200 chicken nuggets. And we sat down and we went for it. And I ate 78 chicken nuggets in 45 minutes.
Wow.
And I could have kept going, but he got to 55. And he just, it got to the point where I was like, how many am I ahead of you? And he was like, 20. And I was like, okay. And he's like, I'm going to catch you. And I was like, no, you're not. Because every time he ate one, I just eat one more.
Yeah.
And then, the demoralizing part is I went over, I go, I'm thirsty. Cracked a beer. Just walked over, started drinking the beer. I'll tell you this. I won, and I won in fashion, but I did not poop for 3 days. And
it blocked you.
Miserable, dude. It blocked me up like the Hoover Dam. I was in. And when it finally did happen, dude, it was the shirts off, naked, sweating in Grenada type of poop. It was bad. It was awful. And I will never do it again. My neighbor wants a rematch. I was like, no, you got to qualify to take a shot at the champ. You want to take a shot at the champ, you have to prove to me you can eat 79.
Can I get a shot at the champ? Can I get a shot at the champ?
If you can prove to me you can eat more than 79 McNuggets, go ahead. To this day, have not had a McNugget in 2 years.
You need to mix in a couple shots of laxative between bites just to make sure.
Every now and then wash it down with the old X-Lax.
Dude, that is chicken nugget explosion.
It hurt.
When you said the naked one, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
When you're like, it's happening, dude, full naked, sweats, fan on, and just hold on for dear life. You just hold on to the earth to keep from not coming off.
You gotta get the feet separated, get that stance going.
Full power stance.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you have a handicap stall so you can hold on to the railing.
Oh my God.
I'm crying, dude. I'm crying.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, man. We've all been there. We all know exactly what I'm talking about.
Fogo night, dude. Fogo night.
Oh, God. Did Fogo de Chao back you up for a couple days, 2-3 days?
Oh, Fogo. God, those always did.
Fogo will get you. The meat sweats, dude. The meat sweats will get you every time.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us here on the O-Line Committee, sponsored by Chicken McNuggets, and your favorite laxative. Hit us up with your dumb football questions in the comment section, and we will see you next time.